The seller won't tell you this, but with just a quick glance, you can tell whether a watermelon is sweet or bland. Can you believe it? Hi there, I'm Tracy from the Tracy Tips channel. June is here, the summer sun is shining bright, and that means it's watermelon season. Those cool, juicy melons are popping up all over markets and grocery stores. But have you ever spent a few dollars on a beautiful-looking watermelon, only to bite it and find it bland, dry, and not sweet at all? Ugh. If that's happened to you, don't miss today's video. I'm going to share 6 easy and reliable tips for picking the perfect watermelon. So simple to remember and use, you'll be picking sweet, deep red, juicy melons every single time. Melon. You don't need to be an expert. Just check for these 6 signs on the outside of the melon and you'll know right away whether it's worth buying. Let's dive into it together, right from the very first minute. Are you ready? Let's go. 1. When choosing a watermelon, the first thing you should look at is the color of the rind. A naturally ripe watermelon usually has a deep green skin with a dull, matte finish, not shiny. This is a sign that the melon has matured fully, received plenty of sunlight, and is ready to enjoy. On the other hand, if the rind looks light green, glossy, or slightly gray, it's likely the watermelon is still young and hasn't developed its full sweetness. The flesh will taste bland, dry, and lack juiciness. Here's a simple tip. Choose melons with an even-colored rind that looks a little dull. These are usually naturally ripened, sweet, and full of juice. Watermelons like this aren't just delicious, they're worth every penny, and you won't feel like you got a bad deal. So don't be fooled by a shiny appearance. Look closely at the color of the rind to pick a truly high-quality watermelon for your family. 2. Another important tip for spotting a ripe and sweet watermelon is to check the bottom of the fruit, the part that rested on the ground while growing. If you see a deep yellow or slightly orange patch, that's a very good sign. This color indicates that the melon ripened naturally in the field, soaking up plenty of sunshine and nutrients from the soil, so the flesh will be sweet, juicy, and full of flavor. On the other hand, if the bottom spot is white or pale yellow, there's a good chance the melon was picked too early or hasn't fully ripened. The taste will likely be bland, dry, and lacking that rich watermelon flavor. So next time you're picking a watermelon, don't forget to flip it over and check the bottom. Go for the ones with a deep yellow spot. Those are usually the top contenders for a delicious summer treat. 3. Did you know that the vein patterns on a watermelon are also a sign for picking a sweet one? Typically, the surface of a watermelon has vein-like lines, similar to water ripples. So when choosing, pick ones with even, dark, thick, and clear lines. That's a sign of juiciness and strong sweetness. These crack-like lines form as the fruit grows and reaches an ideal water level inside, resulting in that sweet and juicy flavor. If the rind has no veins, or they're uneven, the fruit might be underripe or overripe, which affects its quality. 4. One way to choose a watermelon that almost everyone has tried is tapping lightly on the fruit. However, many women only tap it just for the sake of it, without actually knowing what the sound means. Now let me tell you, when checking a watermelon this way, use the palm of your hand to support one side of the fruit and gently tap the opposite side with your other hand. If you feel a clear vibration spread through the fruit, that's a sign the watermelon is ripe. But if you tap and don't feel any vibration, it's likely the melon is still unripe. You can also use your knuckle to tap. Listen closely to the sound. If it sounds like boong boong, the watermelon is just ripe, and it will taste sweet and crisp. If it sounds like thud thud, the melon is overripe. If you hear talk talk, that's a sign it's still green. In general, the deeper and more resonant the sound, the riper the watermelon. So from now on, whenever you tap on a watermelon, you'll have the secret trick in hand. No more tapping just for fun without knowing whether it's good or not. Another very simple way to choose a good watermelon is to use your hand as a scale to feel the fruit's weight. When you're at the market and trying to decide between two watermelons that are about the same size, not sure which one is sweeter, just use your hand scale to test. You can lift each one to compare. The one that feels heavier in your hand is usually juicier, has denser flesh, and is more evenly ripe. That's a clear sign the watermelon is sweet and tasty. But if a watermelon feels lighter than it looks, it's very likely to be dry, spongy inside, or not sweet. If the melons aren't too large, you can hold one in each hand at the same time to compare. The one that feels heavier and more solid is the better choice. This tip comes from experienced watermelon farmers. They can simply lift a fruit and tell which one is sweet without cutting it open. So next time you're at the market, just remember, big watermelons aren't always sweet. A small but heavy one is the one to pick. 6. Finally, don't overlook a small but very important detail: the navel at the bottom of the watermelon. This is the small round spot opposite the stem. If the navel is small and tightly closed, it's a sign that the watermelon is fully ripe, with evenly expanded flesh inside, which means the rind will be thinner and easier to eat. Watermelons like this usually ripen naturally, and they tend to be sweeter and juicier. On the other hand, if the navel is large, slightly swollen, or has an open gap, be cautious. It's very likely that the melon wasn't fully mature, or it may have been treated with chemicals to force it to ripen faster. These melons often taste bland, lack that signature aroma, and may even have a dry or mealy texture. So next time you're at the market, remember to take a close look at the navel before choosing. And there you have it, 6 little tips to pick the perfect watermelon. Don't just go by pretty skin or tap randomly like I used to. That method alone isn't reliable. A good watermelon is a combination of several factors, and you need to check carefully to pick the right one. Now let's cut open the watermelon I picked and see. Wow! Look at that deep red flesh. And the taste? It's truly sweet and delicious. Watermelons contain about 90% water, which is great for cooling off on hot summer days. Getting enough water daily helps maintain body balance, which is especially important for older adults. After cutting a watermelon, if you can't finish it, cut it into bite-sized pieces and wrap tightly in plastic wrap or store in an airtight container in the fridge. Keep it chilled to maintain freshness and avoid bacterial contamination. Never leave cut watermelon out at room temperature for too long. I hope these tips help you every time you shop. Remember to save and share this with your loved ones so you all can pick sweet watermelons every market trip. Here's a little secret. Watermelon rind is actually edible. Can you believe it? Follow me to discover the magical uses of watermelon rind in the next video. Goodbye, and see you again in the next video.